Welcome everyone to season 2, episode 4 of the Fire Emblem podcast. I'm Blazer, and we have our co-host here, Shu.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So we are back.
She's tired, guys.
I am tired.
Confusing. Myself included. We're going the extra mile to provide you with an episode this week. Last week it didn't work out. We were both kind of busy. Stuff happens. We got to both take the time out to get this done, do the editing and all that jazz. So anyhow, we'll try and stay best on track as we can. So keep following us. Follow our damn Twitter. Of course, if you already watched this, you better be
forceful, Blazer. Follow our damn Twitter.
I'm doing the promotions at the beginning, so if anyone stops watching 1 minute in, we already got the promotions going through, right?
Oh, that's good strategy.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm gonna become a professional marketer here. In all seriousness, what's our topic for today, Shu?
Our topic is, we want to start out. We want to talk a little bit about DLC and probably talk about the Wii U tablet and how it, relates to Fire Emblem later on. That's on our agenda, my friend.
All right. So let's start with DLC from a very basic standpoint. DLC, downloadable content. Any gamer who's pretty much gamed any recent games knows how DLC works, what it is, all that jazz, right?
Indeed.
And in a general sense, DLC is not usually received well. At least it doesn't seem to me. I feel like people are a lot quicker to jump and criticize DLC than they are to appreciate it. Even though there are plenty of people who appreciate it, and you know they do because DLC makes a lot of money. All right, say whatever you want. DLC can make a shit ton of money.
What it really is that what I think it's the people. It really depends on what kind of games you play, because there are some games. I mean, even if you like DLC, you gotta recognize there's some pretty bad DLC for some games. I remember, I think it was Oblivion, the game on the console, and they had some really crappy DLC early on. But I mean, for a lot of people like shooters, Halo and Call of Duty that put out map packs that are received pretty well. So I think it really depends on what kind of gamer you are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the level of content, different publishers put in different levels of content, or
it's true.
They put different levels of effort, is what I really meant to say there. And it shows, and it shows in the price tag as well. The price tag is really important because the difference between a $2.99 purchase and a $3.99 purchase, at least to me, is pretty significant in terms of like deciding whether I want something or not. Like that $1. It might not seem like much, but at least for me, I'm definitely more tempted to go for the $2.99 DLC, like exponentially more than the $3.99 DLC. If I try out one DLC and like it sucks ass, chances are I'm not going to try the other like 5 map packs or extra chapters or whatever the hell, extra levels, whatever the hell it is. You gotta start strong at least with the DLC. From a developer standpoint, they gotta put that effort in. Otherwise, it's just not worth it.
Mm-hmm. And Awakening, the most recent Fire Emblem release, was the first game in the Fire Emblem series to have DLC. So, yeah.
Not only that, but I'm gonna intervene here. I don't remember the exact detail, but from what I remember, it's like the first game to have paid DLC for the 3DS or something like that.
Oh, really? I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. It was actually at first, like when the game was still like being developed, whatever. It was actually like a big deal. It was like, yeah, Awakening is gonna be the first game to do this, and I was like, oh, that's so cool, and it's gonna feature characters from the old games that we haven't seen from forever and fan service, whatever. Excuse me. So that was pretty hype at first, right? In a way, you can't hate DLC in the basic sense that, oh, it's extra content, and even if it sucks, it's ultimately extra. But then again, you are paying for it, so you can hate it. So I've got mixed feelings for DLC personally.
I think that you're qualified to hate DLC if you buy it or if you try it in one way or another. Because I mean, like, if you're hating on map packs for whatever game, I mean, you haven't even played the maps. You're just mad that you have to pay for something.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a weak argument at the end of the day.
Yeah. Another thing with the DLC is that this applies especially to games that are localized in one area first and then they get ported to another area.
Such as Fire Emblem.
Yes, of course. So DLC, like the original point of DLC, at least in my mind, was that you create the game, you have a set deadline for the game. As a developer, whoever's paying for funding your game, whoever's your, higher ups, they're saying, all right, you got to get this shit out by this period. So a lot of the times futures are cut out, things are, slacked on, whatever. Fire Emblem Awakening, the characters didn't have feet. If they had pushed that back a few months, I feel like yeah, they probably could have added in feet, right?
Very important.
So stuff happens, and then you have DLC. You say, all right, we're done developing.
Okay.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. There was a problem with our little podcast there. Kind of exploded on us.
It's
Anyhow,
horrific.
I believe we were talking about DLC.
True.
TLDR. Too long, or TLDL. Too long, didn't listen. The pretty much DLC when it comes over, you feel like you're being cheated a little bit because the content's already there, so it's not the same as when it was released in the original place. And that's just one thing to take into account when it comes to people not liking DLC.
Hmm. I think yeah. One of the big things is that the a lot of games these days put out DLC right when the game releases, and that I mean I'm a big fan of DLC. I don't even like that because DLC is really cool in the sense that it allows um a developer to maintain and improve its game throughout the entire life cycle of the game. And if games like Fire Emblem Smash Brothers, like we talked about in the Smash Brothers episode, that have life cycles of 4 or 5 years at the least in between releases. I
More like
mean
10.
that, yeah, more like that. That's the kind of thing you want to see. But if there's DLC day one, like yeah, you can play as Roy and fucking Adolf Hitler or something in Super Smash Brothers, but you have to pay $25 for it the week after. And I'm like, okay, dick, I don't want to do that.
I mean, I would. To be fair, I would still pay $25
I mean,
for
so would
Roy.
I. I'd still be pissed though.
But I would do it while grunting and getting pissed off a bit.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, I definitely like the concept of DLC. I think it's ultimately comes down to the execution. And the main thing is not to hit on DLC just because it's DLC. Like, give it a chance, be fair. It has potential. And in terms of that potential, I think what we wanted to discuss was how Awakening, or not Awakening, but the next Fire Emblem installment could do DLC better. Because I know a lot of people didn't appreciate the DLC. It was nice; it had all those cameos and whatnot, but it was kind of bland. Like the maps within the same pack would often use like the same map, but like a different palette. Or they would just like switch up the enemy order, and then you would just get like a different character. It did feel like it was like not worth the price, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of spots early on that I thought, like, hey man, this DLC is cool, but after a while, it just kind of the novelty sort of wore out. Because there was a time when I would buy every DLC the day it came out, and I was hooked on it. But then after a while, it was just like,
Oh yeah.
I'm over this.
Yeah, I actually, to be perfectly honest, I have not beaten all the DLC. Um, at some point, I was just like, it's just not as fun as it anymore. There wasn't enough like motivation plot wise. I had already gotten like the novelty of seeing all the old characters. I'd gotten like totally over that. Um, even with a great cameo of like Lloyd and Lannis, in the name of the Fang, I shall sentence you to death. Like that's like the most badass thing ever.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was
I get.
cool. It was cool.
But like as soon as you finish that battle, it's like yeah, like it's really not that great. Like all the palettes are, it's just like palette swaps, right? It doesn't it just doesn't last, as you said. And the fact that a lot of the times you'd have to replay the same maps to get like the same bonuses at the end of the map, that would especially make it tedious because even with really powerful characters, it was still kind of time consuming to beat those maps over again. Like to beat Apotheosis, you practically need limit breaker characters. And to do that, you have to beat this really hard DLC map like 10 times so you can get 10 breaker skills or whatever. And
Mhm.
I was just like, I can't do this, like I love Fire Emblem, but I do not have the patience to do that. and it's just not worth bragging
Yeah,
over.
at a point, it's not even fun. It's like work, you know?
Oh yeah, it was like a chore, and I'm just like, I play video games for fun. I don't do it as my side job. I don't get paid for this shit. Like,
Exactly,
what the fuck?
exactly. So, how do you think that DLC could be improved for the next installment? I have my own ideas, but you go ahead.
Okay. I want to make sure I give you a little bit of time to say your ideas too. But I'll say in short, I'd like something story oriented that goes into specific characters. Maybe instead of using whatever units you already have, maybe it would just give you temporary units to give control. I think the Future Past did that, and even though sadly still haven't played it because I just kind of totally lost motivation to play Awakening.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't played it, but I think it gives you like temporary characters you control. I think that would be great because let's say, for instance, you had let's take Fire Emblem 7. Raven had his whole revenge thing where he wanted to, get at the main character of all people. Like that would be cool, right? So if there was like a DLC chapter where, you got to play through his side story or whatever, I think that would be cool. And some people might say, "Oh, that's kind of like Liberty Knights." Well, yeah, and I don't see what's wrong with that. The basic concept is nice. You get something that might not really fit in the main game, or maybe they didn't have enough time to develop all the characters as much as they wanted to, or add in the side quest, and that's like a great purpose for DLC in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. In fact, I was talking to a couple to Scrimsax and Noel from Fire Emblem Shrine forums. I was making fun of Fire Emblem 7 a little bit ago, as I do. I like to make fun of Fire Emblem 7 only because everybody has such a boner for it. But
Oh, hey, it was
I
our
was
first
like,
game.
it's understandable, but still.
Yeah.
I was making fun of Raven specifically because I said like, I think somebody had mentioned, it was probably Silence, mentioned that it had great characters and stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, Raven is like he had like it kind of set up the whole revenge plot thing, and then it hardly comes into play. Like there was like the hint of something interesting in his backstory, and then they just ignore it for the whole time for the rest of the game. It's like, well, this guy he hates one of my lords. Hey, this might be interesting. It's gonna change the whole dynamic of the team. Nope, doesn't do any of that. It's
Yeah. No,
ridiculous. But I
it
mean,
comes
yeah,
in the supports.
supports. Yeah, I mean, but not everybody does supports. I think.
That's true. I mean, to be honest, I read most of the supports like not even within the game itself because it's so tedious and you can only have so many. And, obviously there are so many combinations. So yeah, I read most of them like offline or not offline, online.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that would be quite the feat even for me. Um, but that's what I'm saying. Like all the characters besides the major characters always get overshadowed. So I think the DLC would be like a great place for them to shine.
Exactly, exactly. I mean that. In fact, that was one of my ideas for DLC that I want to mention. Just like side stories that supplement the main storyline, just kind of flushes it out, builds the world a little bit. That's one thing. This is sort of story oriented. One thing that I've always thought that the Fire Emblem series sort of falls flat in is world building, and you can make the argument that Fire like the just strategy, just the way that the Fire Emblem games are uh, built and developed, they don't really lend themselves well to building a world with a history and just a whole bunch of different living locations and makes it doesn't necessarily make you feel like the world will keep on going. I mean, time will still go on after the game is over, and a lot of things happen before the game began. Really,
Yeah, yeah, right.
like you're playing Fire
Fire
Emblem, like this is
very
probably the
focused
most
on that.
interesting thing that has ever happened in Magville.
I think in a way you always hear people going on about like I want to make a hack where we get to play as Lloyd and Linus, and I want to make a hack where you get to play as 8 heroes,
how
and I'm
many
like,
how many
how
hacks
many
do you think
times has that
have
happened,
been
right?
based around the
Millions.
Black Fang?
To quote a certain game developer, as I repeat 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 times, There will never be a hack featuring the 8 heroes. Hideo Kamiya. Very, very famous guy on
Oh
Twitter.
yeah, yeah.
He's, he's a total
Everybody
douchebag.
remembers this.
So yeah, like so many people have tried that hack, and even the other day a friend of mine mentioned it, and I feel like you might call me out for this, but he's like, yeah, I want to do this hack, and I'm like, that'd be great, but like somebody like really just needs to do it so people will shut up about making that said
Somebody
hack.
needs to make an 8 heroes hack that's so good that nobody else wants to do it because
Yeah,
they can't
exactly.
beat it.
And when
Uh,
you think about it, you really don't even know that much about the 8 heroes to really. You'd have to invent
yep,
totally characters for them and everything.
it's true. Uh,
So yeah, but overall, I'd say go for DLC again, but make it quality. I like that. I like how you get new items at the end, but I think instead of making it so you have to replay it every time, perhaps do something a little bit easier for the player, where if they play it once, they can like say unlock the item in a shop in the main game, or something where it's like a lot more accessible. Because like for the limit break skill, I don't want to replay that chapter 10 times to get it or whatever. I would rather beat it once, have it unlocked, and have some like other way to get the skill, if that makes sense.
no, I get you. Yeah. Yep. Well, either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. If they do anything different, which I mean, let's be honest, there's a little bit of a chance that they're just gonna,
Fan
go
service.
over the same ground that they went before.
I
I
mean,
mean, I hope that
yeah,
doesn't happen.
I kind of wish you could know like the DLC figures, like how well it's sold and stuff, but I'm pretty sure it's sold well enough, especially because they kept continuing to make like they made a lot of DLC when you think about it. They made a
Hmm.
lot of maps. Um, Not every game gets that much. So yeah, I think it was relatively popular, but we'll have to see if they step up their game or not. Hopefully do. Hopefully they do, obviously.
Yep,
And
yep.
that just leaves our next topic. I believe you got a Wii U recently, didn't
I
you,
did get a
Shinju?
Wii U recently in December. I
Very
did.
nice. How do you like the tablet gamepad? That's
I
all I like
do.
to
I like it a lot. I mean, I think that one of the main concerns that a lot of people have when they look at pictures of the Wii U and like, man, that controller just looks so clunky and stuff. And I have to admit that I had some similar concerns, but once you get it in your hand, it's really not that big of a deal. It's
I
really
actually, I actually felt
surprisingly comfortable.
nice. Yeah. I actually felt it was really nice. The gyro, what is it? The gyro controls. I'm not sure about the proper term. Feel pretty good. The touchscreen is great. You don't even need to use the stylus, but if you prefer the stylus, you can. I found it actually felt pretty good, and in a way, it's a little bit easier on my arms actually because I don't have to bring my arms in closer. I thought it was a nice change of pace, and I like my Wii U Pro controller as well, but I haven't really found any problems with the gamepad whatsoever. The triggers are fine, the buttons are fine, the interface is fine. The shape it does give that like whoa, I'm like I really don't know how that's gonna work out feeling, but I think it's nice. And why are we discussing this in a Fire Emblem podcast? Because eventually there might be a Fire Emblem game for the Wii U. We can all hope, right?
Hmm. I think there's a
And,
lot of people that would like that more than a 3DS one.
yeah, we were thinking, how is it going to translate with the gamepad? What kind of things could they possibly do? And we know intelligent systems can be lazy sometimes, so they might not do anything special. We're men. We can hope and dream, right, you?
It's true.
So what are you thinking here? You got any ideas?
Well, the one thing that immediately comes to mind is that it could act a lot like the bottom screen acted like in Awakening, where you basically had the character stats and or the terrain stats or whatever you were highlighting at that moment in time, I guess. So I mean that's what comes to mind first and foremost. But I definitely think that they can do other things with it. It's just hard to work your brain around that when you're dealing with like a strategy RPG.
Yeah, absolutely. I think off TV play would be really beneficial. I know people tend to, at least from what I feel like people enjoy Fire Emblem on handhelds more because it's more accessible. Now the Wii U gamepad doesn't have great range, but I think with the off TV play that will make it a little bit more like accessible than say Radiant Dawn. Especially because playing Fire Emblem can take a while just because of the enemy turns. Now you can skip enemy turns, right? But still, some people like to watch it to kind of see what's going on, and especially if they want to like replan their next moves, in case they lose or whatever. So I think off TV play would just benefit it as it would any other game. maybe a little bit more so. Um, you could also have, how the DS games have this stylus controls and stuff. That's
Hmm.
another option. What
Yeah,
else?
yeah, yeah. What else? And that is indeed the question. Because I feel like
I,
there's a lot of potential with that kind of with that controller. It's just I mean, I'm not a game developer. I
right,
have my
exactly.
ideas, but
It is kind of hard to envision. Um, well, think about it. You're starting up the Fire Emblem game. Let's say Radiant Dawn, because you can actually play Radiant Dawn on the gamepad. That's one of the Wii U's features. You can play Wii games on the gamepad. So thinking about it on there, the gamepad has the touch features. Obviously, it's the separate screen. So you're gonna have the big screen and the separate screen, right?
mhm.
So I guess maybe one thing you could do is, um, nah, I don't know. Well, tell
Decided
you what,
against it.
tell you what. All right, Shu and I aren't always chock full of ideas, despite what I told
Well,
him.
well, most of the time we are though.
Most of the time you are. But you
Right.
guys tell us what you think, especially if you have
Wait,
a
I think
Wii
I
U.
had an idea. It
Oh,
might
good.
be dumb though. Um,
That's okay. We're not that intelligent.
don't be surprised if it's stupid. Okay. But what if you could like sort of just to increase the pace of battles, say that you issue an attack. You send, I mean, I guess Marth to go attack some axe buster. Um, and so he's attacking, and the animation is going on the main screen on your TV, and on the tablet it's still the battle map. So maybe you can, while Martha's attacking somebody, you can send Jagan to go stab somebody over there, and then as soon as that attack animation is over, you go right in the next one. Just queue up
That actually
actions.
sounds that actually sounds pretty badass. So yeah, that actually sounds cool. You would be able to keep moving units while watching the animations, and you can kind of like multitask in a way. And you wouldn't have to constantly like switch animations on and off. Like let's say like no one wants to watch Jagan stab someone as on his horse, right? So
Right.
you'll be like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and move my next unit. But then you go and you throw in what's a cool character? Let's say some swordmaster like Stephen from FE9 and 10, and then he's like, oh shit, he just activated Astra, right? Like everyone wants to watch and go ham on some random Axe dude.
Oh yeah.
Astra, sorry. Um, so it's like, okay, then you actually pay attention, to your big screen and do that. That actually sounds pretty nice. That definitely would increase the pace of battles, and I think it's nicer than just turning off animations entirely, because you have to think like they really do put a lot of effort into the animations, and for me, it's actually like a pretty big part. Like I don't enjoy it as much. In like major battles, like I always turn animations on. It's just more epic that way.
It's true. It's true.
And as we
Yeah.
all know, everyone loved the GBA games because they had like the most like ridiculous animations of like people doing flips and throwing their
Yeah. They
shields around and horses teleporting across the map.
they definitely had a
Tell you what, it's
they
dumb.
had a charm to them, a certain charm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of missing. That was missing from the DS games, especially because they
There's
also
also
used
from
the
the DS
street
game.
Easter
Yeah,
eggs.
those were like
Like
a watered
like
down
somebody would
version.
like yeah, it was like somebody would critical and like you wouldn't even know because
Yeah.
you literally just couldn't tell. Like there might be like an extra sound effect. That's it.
Dude, even the ones on the Super Nintendo had better animations than the
Oh fuck
DS
yeah!
ones.
Like FE5 was like relatively badass
They
compared
are
to
very good. In fact, I even say that they're better than the ones in FE9.
yeah. FE9 was solid, but it was definitely stale. And FE10 they were like, yeah, the character's like standing still too much, so they tried to make it a little bit more active.
Yep.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I
I
like.
thought it was solid. It was like a big transition for them. It was the first 3D game. Every series has that point. Well, like not every series, but a lot of series have that transition between 2D to 3D. Whether it's Ocarina of Time or Super Mario World or whatever. I don't know all the games, but for Fire Emblem 9 was that transition, right? So they didn't get everything right, but I think they did a pretty solid job, all things considered.
I mean, that was the first 3D Fire Emblem, so it was a good starting point, I guess. I would say that definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It could have gone down, like totally sour. Like
Yeah, it totally could have. Yeah,
all right, I think we're about running up on time here,
I
Shu.
think we are. I think we are.
And it's 12:20 a.m., so I think I should probably go sleep eventually.
Might be a good idea.
Do my homework, of course. All right, guys. Let us know what you want to hear about on our next podcast. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let us know if you have any ideas about Wii U gamepad implementation.
Or DLC.
Oh yeah, actually, I already did the Twitter promotion, so I don't need to do that again. Am I
Oh.
forgetting you?
Nope, I don't think so. Oh wait, no. Sign up for the forums on feshrine.net.
Yes, of course. If you don't sign up for the forums, the Fire Emblem community will die.
It's
Of
true.
course, you don't want that.
Nope, you don't. Then you don't get this great podcast.
That would be a terribly sad thing.
It would be.
I mean, Serenus Forest has already burned down once.
Wait. Oh god.
Who knows what might happen again?
Yeah. No.
Kidding. I love Serenus Forest. All right. That's it for tonight, guys. See you next week.
See ya.